They were built in secret, funded with billions, and never meant to be seen by the public. Not because they didn't work, but because they worked too well. Missiles that could fly forever, lasers that could blind satellites from space, weapons so powerful they terrified their own creators. Projects buried by the Pentagon, files marked never to be deployed, not even in war. This isn't science fiction, these are real weapons, tested, armed, and then erased. In this video, we uncover the dark edge of military innovation, the technology too dangerous for even the United States to unleash. It wasn't a missile, it was a flying nuclear reactor, and once it launched, there was no turning back. This wasn't science fiction, this was Project Pluto, a real Cold War experiment that nearly unleashed something we couldn't control. The idea was simple: build a missile that never runs out of fuel, that flies at 3 times the speed of sound, hugging the ground, weaving like a serpent, invisible to radar. But how do you power something like that? With fire? No, with a nuclear reactor strapped to its core. Every second it flew, it vomited radiation across the Earth, not just at the target, but everywhere it passed. It was designed to drop multiple warheads, but even if it missed, it would kill by just existing. Engineers built the engine, they fired it up, and it worked perfectly. Then they realized there was no way to test it safely, no way to stop it, and no country on Earth wanted it flying overhead. Project Pluto was canceled, not because it failed, but because it was a monster we were too afraid to unleash. Imagine this, you're a soldier in Germany, the Cold War is heating up, and your job is to fire a nuclear bomb from a tripod. No launch codes, no missile silo, just you, a steel tube, and the end of the world in your hands. This was real. It was called the Davy Crockett, the smallest nuclear weapon ever built. And it was designed to be fired by infantry, like a mortar, with a blast radius bigger than a football field, and 0 chance of surviving if you were too close. Military planners called it tactical, but it was suicide in a suitcase. Even the triggermen knew, if they used it, they wouldn't live to reload. One Davy Crockett could contaminate entire villages with radiation, but in the 1960s, that didn't stop deployment. Hundreds were stationed across Europe, ready to be fired in a last stand. Eventually, even the Pentagon flinched. The Davy Crockett was silently removed from service. No ceremony, no explanation, just gone. It looked like something out of science fiction. 2 barrels, a laser rangefinder, a digital scope, and the promise to replace every infantry rifle on Earth. The XM-29 OICW Objective Individual Combat Weapon, a name straight from the Pentagon's wish list. One trigger fired 5.56mm rounds. The other launched smart grenades that could explode above or behind enemy cover. Soldiers wouldn't have to aim, the weapon would do the math, measure the distance, program the grenade, kill behind walls. It was the dream of the future soldier, but then reality hit. The rifle was too heavy, too complicated, prone to failure in the field. Batteries died, grenades jammed, and if the scope glitched, the soldier was left holding a $20,000 brick. After over a decade of development, the XM-29 was quietly shelved, never deployed, never fired in combat. It promised too much and delivered nothing at all. No bullets, no explosions, just a beam of invisible energy that makes your skin feel like it's on fire. This is the active denial system. The US military called it non-lethal, but the soldiers who tested it called it something else: the pain ray. It fires a 95 gigahertz microwave beam. When it hits human skin, it heats the outer layer to 130 degrees Fahrenheit in less than a second. You can't see it, you can't hear it, but your body panics. You feel like you're burning alive. Officially, it was meant for crowd control, riots, perimeter defense, but no one wanted to be anywhere near it. Journalists were invited to try it. Some ran, others screamed, one dropped to the ground in seconds. The weapon was ready. It was mounted on Humvees, deployed to Afghanistan. And yet, it was never used in combat, not once. Some say it was fear of bad optics, others fear of something worse, that this non-lethal beam could cause permanent damage, or even death. The active denial system still exists, stored, waiting, just in case the rules ever change. He claimed he could split the earth, shake cities into dust, and stop entire armies with a single machine. Nikola Tesla, genius, inventor, and possibly the creator of the most terrifying weapon the world never saw. In 1934, Tesla told journalists he had built a teleforce weapon, a death ray, capable of wiping out aircraft from 250 miles away, with no explosions, just focused energy. He said it could end war forever, because no country would dare attack a world armed with it. The US government listened and watched, and after Tesla died, agents raided his hotel room. His notes disappeared. Years later, the files were classified, hidden, some were never recovered. Was Tesla bluffing? A madman at the end of his life? Or did he touch something that science still can't explain? To this day, we don't know, but some believe that weapon, or its blueprints, didn't vanish, just changed hands. It started as a dream, clean, precise, a beam of light that could destroy a missile at the speed of light. For decades, lasers were the stuff of movies, space battles, death rays. But now they're real, and they're being mounted on ships, jets, and tanks. The US Navy has already tested them. A laser system called Lois took down drones mid-air, quietly, invisibly, no explosions, just a silent burn. That's the appeal. No ammo, no noise, just light and destruction. But behind the silence is something no one talks about. What happens when lasers are turned on people? International law forbids blinding lasers in combat, but that hasn't stopped some countries from developing them. Weapons that can permanently blind, sear flesh, or disable electronics in seconds. And in the chaos of modern warfare, the difference between non-lethal and devastating is just a matter of wavelength and intent. The age of laser warfare is no longer fiction. It's here, and it's only getting stronger. America has the most powerful military on Earth. It can fight anywhere, win anywhere, and yet some of its own weapons never leave the lab. Not because they're too weak, but because they're too strong. The logic is brutal. If you build something that can't be defended against, then your enemies will build something worse, and soon, no one is safe. That's why the most dangerous weapons are often the ones you never hear about, hidden, locked away, not for technical reasons, but for moral ones. A missile that poisons continents, a beam that blinds armies, a drone that decides who lives and dies without asking. In the end, it's not about what you can build, it's about what you're willing to use. And sometimes, the scariest weapons in the world are the ones sitting in silence, waiting. Some of these weapons were shut down, others may still exist. Somewhere in a vault, on a shelf, or already deployed, but classified. The world never saw them used, and maybe that's the only reason we're still here. If you want to see more stories like this, weapons buried in black budgets, experiments too dangerous to launch, subscribe. Because some secrets weren't meant to stay hidden forever.